veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Actually Aubrey. We've got our wonderful guest, the beautiful, talented Shorty Mac. Shorty Mac from the ATL. How you doing, Shorty?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you pretty ladies doing?
Well, how are you?
Doing very good.
We're both great. I'm great. And we thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on our platform here on YouTube to talk to us about your time on Put a Ring on It. And to basically, we want to find out a lot more about who Shorty Mac is, because we really only got to see maybe 10, 15 minutes of you every week. And I was always interested as a viewer, Shorty. I was always saying to myself, if I could get to meet Shorty Mac or talk to her, what are some of the questions that I would ask her? And I said, you know what? I don't want to know about her going back to even her childhood. Like, what kind of child was she, right? What kind of person? And I really want, so this interview, this conversation really is an opportunity for you and for us to get to know you better as a whole person, right? And Sonya, go ahead. Sonya is here. It's her first time helping me as special guest and co-host. Sonya from Let the Lady Speak podcast here on YouTube. And let me give her a hand on that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it. And it's a pleasure meeting you, Shorty.
It's a pleasure meeting you too, Sonya.
Thank you, love.
Right. So, there's Monique. Well, guys, Sonya, if you'll go ahead and get started, let's find out some more about Shorty as, younger Shorty as a child and coming up.
Okay, Shorty. So, Shorty, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about where you were born and raised.
So, I was born in a country called Eritrea. It's in Northeast Africa. And I came here as a little girl with my parents when I was about 4 years old, 4 years old. And I grew up in Minnesota, which has the Twin Cities. So that's where I spent a majority of my childhood. And then as an adult, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia about 10 years ago with my son.
Do you remember much about the transition, or were you too young to remember?
I was too young, to be honest with you. Like, I really don't remember anything. My earliest memories definitely go back to Minnesota, where I grew up. I have been to Africa, to my country and other countries in Africa several times throughout my life. But those memories are with me, but none of my original transition. Not really.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. How was it going back home for the first time?
It was interesting. It was really, humbling, and it taught me about myself and, who I was. Because up until then, like I said, all I had was memories of America and American culture. And, that was very much my known identity. So to be able to go back home and, see some people who look like me and share different cultural aspects was really, it felt good. It felt like I had a connection, with people who I hadn't met before, but I felt the connection to them. So it was great.
That is wonderful. Origin stories are always important. When you know where you come from, it makes you more confident moving forward in life. So good for you. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 2 younger brothers. I'm the oldest child and the only girl. So I have 2 younger brothers, one that is 3 years younger than me, and the other one is 8 years younger than me.
Okay, so I'm the oldest girl also. How was that for you? I'm like the second mother.
Me too. Absolutely. Like, I helped raise my brothers. My dad was kind of like a more African dad, which meant that he was going to be like hands off in some of the, early child rearing, but he was definitely going to provide. He was definitely going to, be there for disciplinary factors and other things. But I was like a second mom, like what you said, helping my mom with changing diapers and watching kids and, being domestic and all that good stuff.
I know I saw a joke on Instagram where they said they have Mother's Day, they should have Oldest Daughter's Day as well. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I want an oldest.
We deserve it. We deserve it. It's a lot of pressure,
It is,
Yeah.
especially in a more traditional type of home, because my grandparents are from the South. And so when you're the oldest, like you said, you do the cooking, you do the cleaning, you're in charge of making sure there's order, keeping everyone set and ready to do their responsibilities. So it is a lot of responsibility. I agree.
Definitely. Yeah.
What is one of your best or most memorable childhood memories? Like, what makes you smile on the inside?
Probably one, like my first trip going back home, I was a young girl, like 12 years old, I want to say. And so my parents took me to a couple of places. Like we went to New York, we went to the UK. And so I remember those, and it was just like me, them, and one of my brothers. And I just remember some of the lessons I learned. My dad woke me up real early in the morning when we were in New York to show me that traffic was starting at 4 o'clock in the morning, that people were up, they were moving, they were hustling, and that they were trying to get it. And that this is like the city where, nobody sleeps. And to just have that early memory, with him, more than anybody else was something that I'll always cherish. And I always smile when I think about it. Just him trying to give me that game, I thought was really cool.
Right. How did that help you through high school and college and into your career?
I think that it helped me in the sense that he was trying to plant some early seeds within me to just kind of like not be naive and, not be blind to my own ambition. Don't subdue it. If you feel like you can do it, really get out here and try. So I think that was really key. I ended up losing my dad early when I was like 18 years old. So I think if he would have been around longer, I think that would have been better because he would have continued to, instill those principles in me. But he planted the seeds, so it was good. I found out later on I definitely was going to need that going out into this world and trying to make it, as a Black woman, like in America. You definitely you need all of those things that he was trying to instill in me early on. Even if I didn't get it at the time, I definitely get it now as a grown woman.
Right. The seeds are important. We water it and the grow. It's okay. What led you to radio? How did you get into radio? Did you determine that before you went to college or while you were in college, or was that something you always dreamt of?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily want to do radio in particular. Like I was always outgoing as a child, really always outspoken, and into just media and entertainment. I wanted to sing at one point, I wanted to dance at one point, but I knew that I was into cameras. I was doing photography and recording things from a young age. I was interviewing random people on the street, when I was a preteen. Just for practice. Like I was like, this is me, this is what I want to do. And so I would just practice. So I always knew that it was something that I wanted to do, but it wasn't necessarily like a narrow road to radio per se. I wanted to do some TV things. And where I was from, there just wasn't like a whole bunch of opportunities for minorities to be on television. So I just I got my own camera and, went around town doing my own thing. I got recognized by the radio station for doing that, and they were like, hey, that's really great what you're doing. We think we can help you take it a step further. And so they kind of took me in and then they showed me how to do radio. But I did go to school for mass communications and broadcasting, but it's not always hands-on in terms of like how to use the equipment or, programming as a whole. You just kind of get the theories of broadcasting and a lot of that stuff and a little bit of hands-on. So they're the ones that really kind of brought me in because they just saw me doing my own independent thing in the street. And they were like, come be a part of a team. So, and that was beneficial to me too.
That is awesome. So good for you for being so ambitious. Good for
Thank
you for
you.
being a self-starter and like, hey, I'm going to take my life into my own hands. I love that. So I have to ask you, because I'm like you, I wanted to be into the arts. I definitely was going to be a dancer. I was a fame person, jumping off the couches and spinning around and driving my mother crazy. So my question,
Yes.
so I have two questions for you. What was your favorite dance show growing up? And then what's your favorite musical era?
That's so tricky. I'm a 80s baby, so I'm gonna say that my favorite musical era was the 90s and early 2000s. Definitely, that's my favorite. I feel like R&B is one of my favorite genres of music, and I feel like it had a good, healthy space to live in the 90s and early 2000s. I think now R&B music's taking a turn for being more hardcore, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't love you that much anymore like we used to. We just love you a little. So that's probably my favorite era. And then my favorite dance show growing up, I don't know that there were like a ton of dance shows, but I know that I used to I liked musicals and like going to live plays and stuff like that. So I loved like West Side Story. I went to go see like 10 versions of it live.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that was one of my favorite.
I love that. I
And
love that.
Grease too, and Grease also.
You
So
got to do grease lighting, honey. Oh,
yeah.
I love it. I love it. Um, so let's get into love. Did you have a high school sweetheart or a college sweetheart?
I probably had boys I liked in high school, but I wouldn't
Mhm,
really say like a sweetheart. My parents were really strict. I wasn't
mhm,
allowed to have a boyfriend. I didn't have a lot of free time where I wasn't being supervised. So,
mhm, mhm.
I had boys that I liked that, I may talk to on the phone or see at school. I think
Yeah.
my real first boyfriend was in college, though, I would say. Yeah. And I was very green to that whole thing and how it worked because I just hadn't been really like trained, in our culture. It's like really taboo to even talk about. It goes like, oh, you can't have a boyfriend until you get married. We joke, but then that's really kind of like how, we were brought up too. There wasn't
Mhm,
that, okay, now you're going to transition to doing this and this is how you do that. And then you can hold hands and then,
mhm.
this. So it was kind of like, oh, get out here and find out about it.
How was that transition for you?
It was, I don't know, like it was really interesting. I was just learning from other people my age. And
Mhm,
I don't think that they had the answers either. So,
mhm.
I think we were just navigating the waters, but it
Yeah,
was
just
good.
figuring it out.
hmm
You did it. So, how did you meet Kenneth, and what made you fall for him? What made you fall in love with him?
So I met Kenneth here in Atlanta. I met him at a concert for a radio station that I was employed with. So that's how I met him. And I just thought he was really cute. And when he approached me, I initially thought he was a lot younger than he actually was. And so when
Mhm,
he was trying to, get my phone number and get my name and get to know me, I pointed that out to him like, oh, you seem like you might not be in my age range. But
mhm,
he let me know that he was 32 years old. And I think at the time I was like 36 or 37, something like that. So it didn't
mhm,
seem like a huge gap. So I was like, oh, okay, you can get my number. And we just talked on the phone a lot. He didn't live in the state, but he told me he had plans to move to Atlanta soon. And
mhm,
we talked on the phone, and the stuff that he was telling me is, it sounded good to me. Like he was telling me how for work that he worked in contracting and construction and stuff, and that was
mhm,
really interesting and appealing to me because I was getting into real estate myself newly, and so I was interested to be around and meet people who were doing those things. And
mhm,
so for me, I was like, okay, you're handsome, you're good with your hands. You're telling me you're a general contractor, which means that on the business end you probably are intelligent, have some things going on for you. He was telling me that he was a single dad to a beautiful little girl and just telling me how much he loved her and everything. Of
mhm,
course, for me, I'm a single mom. So to hear, a guy just like gushing over his daughter and his child was like very attractive to me too as well. And just it seemed to me at the time that he just was honest and he was available. For me,
mhm,
one thing that was a red flag I looked for a lot in guys was like cheating and infidelity and lying and, living different lives. Like they have a girlfriend over here, but they want you to think you're single. And so I was kind of paying attention for those patterns of like, okay, if I call you, are you available? And he was. And so those things accompanied with the fact that he was telling me he was, trying to move to Atlanta anyway. I just was like, oh, well, this seems great. So all of those things, initially, without me knowing, the deeper layers of him, all of those things were very appealing to me and made me like him.
Okay. Now, as Aubrey stated, we don't want to go too much into Kenneth because he's not here to defend himself. But at what point did you have pause for concern? At what point did you say, I'm not sure about this situation, or you realize he wasn't who he presented himself as?
Just when things started not adding up, when some of the things that he was saying were not really being backed up by action. That's when I, was having reason for concern. I would say all those things came about within the first year. Some things came about like in the first 6 months. It took me a little time to see that he wasn't as active in his daughter's life as he was, telling me that he was, because of the distance. Now you've moved to another state. So in my mind, I'm like, well, obviously you're not going to see her every day or every week, now because you live in a different state. So even that took a little time. It took for 6 months. Oh, okay. Well, 6 months went by. We've got summer break here, and I'm looking for him to take initiative moves on, introducing us, or, having her around us, or having her around him, even if that means him leaving the state and just going and saying, I'm going to spend this much amount of time, back home with her. And so I started looking for those things. I started looking for, the action to the things that he was telling me. And it just became more and more that the two were not adding up. And so, of course, I bring those things up. And then, of course, he has, answers or rebuttals as to what's going on, and that it's not as it seems to be. And then I want to believe you, and we're already here. So I feel like I owe it to you and myself to give you the opportunity to, show me those things. And if they're not exactly what you're saying that they are, at least you have ambition and hopes to work towards them, And so if they're not exactly where they are, I'm looking to see you, working towards getting into that space. And so within the first year, I kind of saw that things weren't what he was saying that they were. And then also saw a lack of real work being put in to get to the place, where he's saying that he was or he wants to be.
Shorty, if I can just jump in right quick. During that time, so you guys meet and you're basically having a long distance relationship. So you were, at the time, in the beginning when you met him, you were living in Atlanta. Is that, or am I mistaken?
So when I first met him, I was living in Atlanta. Coincidentally, like about 2-3 months later, I moved to a city called Columbus, Georgia, which is about an hour and 20 minutes outside of the Atlanta area. And so when he moved to Georgia, he moved to Columbus. And it was from a conversation that we had where he was, telling me that his initial plan was to move to Atlanta. And of course, I'm living in Columbus. And like I said, that's about an hour and 30 minutes outside of the city. And so then came the discussion of, oh, okay, well, should I move to Atlanta? Because if I do that, then we're going to continue to carry on a long distance relationship. Similar to what we had been doing in Louisiana, with him in Louisiana. Of course, the distance wasn't as great, but there's still a distance there. So there's still going to be the need to plan trips to go back and forth and this. And at the 6-month period, we determined that we wanted to be like in the same city, whether it be both of us are in Atlanta or both of us are in Columbus.
Okay. And one other question. So at that point in time, while you guys were talking and he was in Louisiana and you were in Georgia, were you able to go visit him in his apartment or his house or his home at all?
So he came and visited me in Georgia. I did not go and visit him in Louisiana. I did FaceTime with him a lot. And when we were FaceTiming, he was showing me that, this is my house, this is where I live, this is my neighborhood, via, video chat. And this is on a regular basis. He'd be at work. Okay, I'm at work today. I'm doing a contract for, said business. I'm at the business. I'm on my break. I've got my construction gear on. I'm, eating a sandwich. I'm talking to you. Same thing at home. I'm home. I just got out the shower where I'm in my living room. I'm chilling. I'm talking to you. So I didn't physically go and visit. But, with the video chatting, I did see his daughter. I did see his home where he said he lived and, the places that he was working at. So physically, no. But I feel like I was, some part of witness to his daily, routine or life.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Sonya.
So you guys are getting to know each other. You're starting to see that he isn't quite whom you thought. You're having the hope that he's going to improve. Am I hearing that? Okay. He's going to do what he says he's going to do, things of that sort. At what point did you say, okay, let's go? How did put a ring on it come about? That's the question I want to ask. How did you decide to put a ring on it? Did they approach you? Did you approach them?
Yeah, so they approached me. A casting agency approached me from parties involved who knew about me and Kenneth's relationship.
Okay.
So it was somebody who knew me and his relationship. They knew that we had a lot of up and downs, that our relationship was just very interesting and had a lot to it, and thought we would be good for the show. And so they came and asked me if I wanted to be a part of the show. After I had never heard of the show, to be honest with you, I didn't really know what the format was. After looking into the format, I thought that it was great for me and my relationship and what I had going on. I asked Kenneth if he wanted to be a part of it. I told him what the show was about, and he said he wanted to be a part of it. And so the show, to me, the way that I interpreted the format of the show to be was for couples. You've got two people in it, and one of them are not wanting to get married, but the other is. So it's for couples who have issues and they are not on the same page about marriage. And so what they do is they come on the show to either see if they need help from a third party who can come and help them mend, or improve their issues to the point of getting engaged. Or if they cannot get help, then it would open them up to the idea of dating other people, to think that maybe there might be somebody else who's a better fit for you. And maybe that's why you've been at a standstill when it comes to taking that next step. So maybe you have a reservation of like, well, I don't know if this person is really the one. And you can't experiment with that when you're in a real relationship. But under this guided experiment, you have the safety and the freedom to go and date other people and see if maybe you're forcing the situation that you're in. And maybe you need out of it, So for me, I was like, yeah, this is us, because he's convinced we need to be married. And I'm convinced that we don't, because we need a lot of help. And he's never been open to the idea of counseling or therapy. He doesn't think that someone who doesn't know him could offer him great information about himself or a relationship. But he did have a desire to want to be on TV. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, even if she's a TV counselor or a TV therapist, she's still that. So if you're willing to go on the show, it'll be great. And also we can see ourselves, you know what I mean? Have the opportunity to do that. So that's how we ended up on the show. And, me and him talked about it at length. And for me also, I had a lot of back and forth with Kenneth. I made a lot of attempts to break up with him, break the relationship off. Can I give me 1 second, y'all? I'm so sorry.
Sure, no problem. Would you ask her when she returns? Would you ask her if her and Kenny were living together while they went on the show in the beginning, please?
Sure.
You're doing great.
Down.
Doing a great job.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you guys. Forgive me. I have children in the home.
Oh, no, not a problem. You got children. Okay. I got cats.
Okay, I think they get the message now. So where were we?
Okay, so you were telling about telling us about the vetting process and how you and Kenneth communicated in detail about what you were going to do and the process and the intentions of the show. Aubrey had a question while you were gone. Were you guys living together once you started filming or during the show, or what was your status at that time?
Yeah, so we were living together, and about I don't know how many months it was before, but a little time before it, Kenneth took a job doing production assistant work,
Hmm.
which had him traveling to different states and different cities. So on the very day that I got the call, he was actually in, I want to say, like Houston, Texas, and he
Okay.
was working. So he was on very much a back and forth thing. For me, I wanted him to kind of stay away, to be
Hmm.
to be real honest. But
Hmm.
we were in a living together, but in a back and forth situation as far as like his physical presence in the home because of his work schedule.
So wait a minute. So a commuter relationship. Can I ask you a question? Was that consistent throughout the 3 years that you guys except for the part where you first met and he was living in Louisiana? Was that consistent throughout the, let's say, 2 years, 2.5 years of your relationship?
Nope, it was just like a few months before we started filming the show.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So there's parts of you that wants this relationship to end, parts of you that wants it to stay. Did you really feel like it was a good chance that the therapy could really help you guys see your relationship? I know you said it was a mirror. So was that your hope? Or did you, because during the reunion, you stated, I had already made up my mind. So I think
Correct.
there's some confusion about, did you make up your mind or were you on the fence? But I am one
No.
to believe that multiple things can exist, right? So
Mm-hmm.
were
I did
you
not want to be in the relationship. So there was not a part of me that wanted to stay. There was a
Mhm.
part of me that wanted him to get help
Okay.
so that he could stop the things that he was doing to me. He was
Okay.
doing very alarming, concerning, and scary things to me.
Okay.
And I knew that even if I was able to get him 100% out of my home, that
Mhm.
those things would not stop
Mhm.
because those things didn't just involve a physical aspect, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They involved other things.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I knew that just getting him physically away wasn't going to be the only solution, that there was going to be a need to put out, um, not put out, in terms of saying bad things about him or, slamming his character, but just allowing him to be himself
Mhm.
on camera.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
didn't tell him to steal my bank information. I didn't set him up to steal my bank information. That's just him. That's just who
Right.
he is.
Right.
And so by him doing that on video camera, I'm not crazy. I'm
Mhm.
not crazy. I'm not lying. And
Mhm.
this is something that I have to worry about even if we are broke up and even if he lives in a different country. I still have to worry about that and other things, similar to that. And so for me, it was like I was hoping that Dr. Nicole could address those issues, let him know that those things are not right, that you do have to respect people's boundaries, that you do not own people because you are in a relationship with them, that people do have the freedom and autonomy to walk away, that
Absolutely.
sometimes relationships are not a good fit, and
Mhm.
that might not be anyone's fault
Mhm.
and that it's okay, and that there might be somebody else for you. And so, regardless of whether me and him were together or not, I did want him to get help to just be a better person in general because
Mhm.
that helps me out. It helps the greater society. It helps him out.
Mhm.
And so that was the part in which, when I'm saying that, I have a desire for positivity, it's not a desire to stay in the relationship. It's just a desire to see him be better, to do better.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe we don't need to be in a relationship, but we don't need to be arch enemies. You know,
Right.
we don't need to be harmful to each other after the fact.
Mhm.
And so I was hoping that even going through that process, if nothing else, would help us get to a point where we could amicably walk away peacefully and in a good space.
Right.
And knowing that, hey, love, the idea of love doesn't end here,
Mhm.
with each other.
Right. And I understand that. I think it's underestimated how difficult and challenging a DV can be, or safety matters can be in a relationship. Some breakups, people have stalkers, they have to relocate various ways, out of state, change names, change phone numbers, things like that. So, my question is, what other safety resources did you attempt before the show and during the show? If you had to do anything during the show aside from, airing it out so everyone knows what's happening as your shield.
Mhm. So I did, I took a lot of steps, did a lot of things over the course of the years in our relationship. Of course, things started out mild. They would
Mhm.
start with me calling family members that lived in not in the same state, but, in Florida that could come up. They would talk to them, hey, she's saying that it's not working out. She's saying,
Yeah.
she wants you gone. So then for him, he feels like they don't need to be in our business. This is
Mhm.
our business. And so then when I see that escalating, I don't want things to escalate with my family and him.
Mhm. Mhm,
So
mhm.
then I resort to petitioning his family to come and, intervene or remove him from my home, to put it bluntly.
Mhm.
They also felt like this is not their place and they don't want to be, in our business. So
Mhm.
then at that point, I resorted to calling the police.
Mhm.
I asked the police to come to my home and remove him. They would not. They explained to me that in the state of Georgia, if he's been there longer than 2 weeks, that this is also his residence, even though he's not on the lease, even though he has not bought furniture
Wow.
in here,
Yeah.
even though he doesn't own anything other than his clothes. He's been
Mhm.
here longer than 2 weeks. In order to get him out, I've got to file a 30-day eviction notice. They're explaining all of this to me while he's present with me.
Mhm.
Ooh.
So this
Wow.
doesn't make me feel super
It's
comfortable to go
comfortable.
and
Mhm.
start that process, because I still have to live with him for 30 days until this, whatever it is, goes through. So
Mhm.
then I'm told that I can file a restraining order on him. If I file a
Mhm.
restraining order on him, even if he is in my home, he still has to go. I tried to do that. They told me that that wouldn't work unless he had hit me, or I would have to prove that there had been physical violence against me to file a restraining order on him in the same residence as me.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
that didn't work. Okay,
Mhm.
so at that point, I said, well, I will wait for my lease to run out.
Mhm.
I've got about 8 months left. I'll wait my lease out. Once my lease is up, I'll move. That's what I did.
Mhm.
On my moving day, I had co-workers who were men who came to back me up to let him know he was not going to be coming to my new residence.
Mhm.
This new residence is a house that I'm buying, a one-level Rambler house. So
Mhm.
this is not an apartment building. This offers me zero security. Only security is that he doesn't know where it is.
Mhm.
So I moved to my new home, but it doesn't work because he's been around me too long. He knows my schedule. He knows my son's schedule. So he just followed my son home to the new house.
Mhm. Mhm.
So now he knows where I live. So now he's circling around my home. I'm in communication with his mother to let her know that I'm going to involve police because now he's trespassing. I don't want him at my home. He's not even supposed to know where this address is. His
Mhm.
mom is asking me to not call the police on her because of the police climate.
Mhm.
She's in fear for him and his life. And I can understand that and respect that too as a mother.
Right.
But also as a woman, he's taking it too far now. You followed
Mhm.
my son home. This is not okay.
Right.
So at that point, I try to file a temporary restraining order on him based on the fact that he's trespassing around my home. They allow me a temporary order of protection, but it doesn't turn into a permanent one because I don't have a known address to serve him at.
Right.
So after 30 days, that order goes away.
Mhm.
I filed another one back to back. I was like, I'll keep filing these, back to back. So
Mhm.
that's what I did for a while. But
Mhm.
of course, I would show up to court. He wouldn't because he hadn't been served.
Mhm.
So that was another
Wow.
measure that did not work.
Mhm.
Let's see, what else did I do? I changed my phone number. He was able to get it from an employee at Floor and Decor because he knew that I had renovations done. He knew that I had an account with them. I don't know. how
What?
yes.
Are
I
you
only found
kidding me?
I
You
only
can
found
go
this
up
out
to a
because
store clerk and they will give, not
They
probably
must
if
have
they gave
posted.
your phone number, they would also give even maybe your address. They would give
I
information
don't
from your private card with them.
I
What?
don't know. But I do know that that was after I had changed my phone number, which was
Mhm.
really difficult to do because I had my same phone number for 15 years in the entertainment industry. The most important thing is keeping a consistent phone number so that
Absolutely.
for business purposes. So it was really gut wrenching for me to change my phone number in the first place. So for him to
Right.
turn around and get it in such a very weird and ironic way, like it was just crazy. So at that point, I moved to a high rise condo in which he told them at the front desk that he was my son. He just gave them my son's name, and
Oh my goodness.
they didn't ID him. He was able to get up. Of course, I had it out with them big time,
Mm-hmm.
so they had a picture of him, and all of that. So it was around at that time that the show opportunity came about. So I was like, okay, cool. I am going to do this show, that way we can record all of this. I want you to see how crazy and concerning you're behaving.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I'm
Right.
hoping that, a therapist can at least give him ground rules on boundaries. You can't take
Mm-hmm.
her phone. That's her
Right.
property. You're much bigger than her. It's not okay
Mm-hmm.
to physically overpower her and take her phone. Simple things, is what I was like
Mm-hmm.
looking for. And if nothing else, I can protect myself and my brand because my brand is one of the biggest things that he always held over my head. You're a radio personality. Oh, people think you work with kids and you do this, I'll ruin you.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that aspect of I'm going to lead nude pictures and nude videos of you because he knows that
Right.
I have a youth initiative in Atlanta. I work with a lot of kids. That would be absolutely devastating to me and my
Mm-hmm.
brand. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't provided him with any of those type of materials, but when you live with somebody who is actively, plotting and planning on you around the house, you don't know what they're capable of. So he didn't have to do it. I just have to think that he will in order for me
Right.
to be affected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if I could just interject right here,
Mm-hmm.
Shorty, um, I see as a YouTuber, because I'm on YouTube, like if there's 24 hours in a day, I'm gonna say I'm on there maybe 20 hours a day, right? Like that's my lane right now because
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to excel in this space that I'm in, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I first saw the first video that Kenneth had put up of you, I'm like, what is this guy doing? This is really creepy. Now this is
Yeah.
okay, guys. This is my channel and this is my own opinion. Not saying that he is creepy, but me as a woman who has also, who has dealt with domestic violence, who has dealt with a couple of people that have been stalkers in that space, I felt like these videos were very creepy. Like, why would you start
Mhm,
a channel only to show your ex, you know, eating a hamburger,
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
doing basic things around the house? Why not record yourself doing things and perfecting your craft as an actor? Why not that?
mhm. So those videos are all very old because I
Hmm.
learned early on with him that I could not be vulnerable or allow myself to be filmed by him. Um,
Yes.
Early on, I saw that because that style of revenge, I'm just gonna call it what it is
Yeah.
not new to this particular YouTube channel. He's been doing this for quite some time. So if you notice all of those
Oh,
videos,
really?
my hair is about this short because those
Yeah.
videos are about 4 years old from when I first met him. And at
Hmm.
that time, I thought that he was being a loving boyfriend who was just in adoration of me, and he's taking videos. And even if I
Hmm.
don't have makeup on or my hair isn't done, he would never post these, you know what I mean, for the
Right.
public
Right.
to
That's
see.
what
These
a
are just
normal person would kind of
right that
follow
he
that
Yeah.
train of thought.
right. But I learned early on that that was all just like, he's got a file on me, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that I stopped allowing him to even videotape me knowingly a long time ago. He would do it, unknowingly. He posts horrible, unflattering pictures of me that are off guard. I don't even know he's taking the picture, of me. He'll post it up. Like you said, eating a hamburger. I'm in a robe. I'm trying to do my hair. I'm trying to get myself together. all of that is just kind of to chop me down, to just kind of let me know, like, you're nothing, which is probably why I react in a way where I'm like, no, I am something. I'm beautiful. I'm better than you, you know. And it's, you know, it's all because he's going to chop me down severely, like not in a manner where he tells me I'm ugly, which he does, but also that I'm going to take the most unflattering video of you and I'm going to not only post it, but I'm going to post it to a YouTube where I can monetize this and make money off of humiliating you. And so that's what that YouTube channel is all about. He claims that it's to show that he and I, you know, were happily in love at one time, but we're not happily in love now. And you're posting these videos now after the fact. So I just, you know, it's all to intimidate me. He wants me to contact him. I had my attorney contact him and send him a cease and desist to take the channel down. He has yet to take any of it down. He hasn't posted anything new, but he hasn't taken, you know, that down. But that's all in an attempt to bother me, hurt me, humiliate me. That's what that's about. So and to mislead people into thinking that we're back together, because he has gone on record and told people that, you know, we're back together. He's done interviews where he's hinted at the fact that we were back together, and then he will post those things and write captions that sound like they are today or in current time. And I've seen on the internet people under the impression that he and I are back together too. And I know why. It's because of those videos. So I try to say as much as possible that those videos are very, very old. Do not be misled.
I can look at the graininess of them. I can look at your hairstyle, as you pointed out, the short hair that, you know, when you were wearing your hair much shorter than you are now. I got my co-host traditionally in this He Said, She Said podcast wants me to ask you, when you said to Kenneth, and this is an important question because a lot of people are wondering this, so I want to ask this directly to you. I don't want to forget this. That when you said to Kenneth that he looks for women who are out of his league and it rubbed the viewers the wrong way, what made you say that at that particular time? Can you address that?
Sure. You know, editing is what makes TV great. You know, they edit things in a way that really, you know, draw you in and make things compelling, right? So that conversation didn't start the way that it came about. It wasn't me just saying, hey, this guy wants women who are out of his league. The conversation was actually him criticizing me as a woman and me not cooking enough, or me not attending to him in the bedroom enough, me not doing all of these things enough, and how other women happily, willingly do all of these amazing things that I'm falling short of. And so what my response to that was that there probably are amazing, incredible women who are way better than me. But why is it that you seem to feel like you are entitled or even worthy of them when you don't have anywhere near what they have to bring to the table? And then I went on to explain that when I first met him, that he had actually lied and misrepresented who he was in order to seem appealing to me and to get me to fall for him. So at that time, Dr. Nicole asked him if that was true. He told her that it was in fact true. And she asked him why.
Wait. Just slow down just a second. You said that he told her that it was in fact true? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And then she went on to ask him why he did that. And he told her that he felt like if he had showed up as his true self, that I wouldn't have given him a chance. And so that was the context of the conversation. And on the next episode, I doubled down on that with him, where I was letting him know that I think it's unfair of you to expect out of a partner, I don't care if it's a woman or a man, it's unfair of you as to expect, right? Something out of somebody else that you are not willing to bring to the table or unable to bring to the table yourself. That was my upbringing as a child. That's my opinion. I made that clear to him from the beginning. I showed up as my true self in the beginning. If he would have showed up as his true self and I had the option to say, hey, this is, you know, I want to build on this, great. But I wasn't given that opportunity. And so at this point, I'm being judged that I'm trying to change him, that I knew who he was when I met him and I accepted this. But now I'm bitter because I can't change him. And that's an unfair and false narrative. And so for me, I feel like it's more of this is my opinion. I feel like it's more of a con on his part because what I see is a pattern, because it wasn't just me. I found out even the women before me had something in common, that they all had way more to lose than he did. And that when they wanted to end the relationship, he leveraged what they had to use against them. So to me, at this point, you want and you are targeting women who are in fact out of your league in multiple ways, not just in looks, not just in finance, but also in emotional maturity, overall general
Professional
maturity,
status. Let's say
professional status,
Yeah.
all of these things, And like I said, if you show up as your true self and a woman says, hey, I like what you have going on, this is a great foundation and I want to work to build with you on that, then fantastic. But you yourself said that you misrepresented yourself to me because you felt like if you didn't, that you may not have had the same shot. So help me understand where I'm wrong, or what I could have done better, because I'm open to that. I'm open to learning. I want to do better. I don't want to repeat the same, mistakes or misjudgments. But help me. Let me know. Anyone,
But I do have a question along that line. So as the 3 years were going by and this person, and correct me and jump in at any time if I'm mistaken, I'm going to go through a little short list here. This person came to you. Did he have a vehicle when you guys first got together? His own vehicle?
He did.
Okay.
He had a work truck.
Okay.
It
but
was very.
That the company work truck, or was that actually a vehicle or truck that he owned?
He owned it. It was a very raggedy, very old work truck, in which I tried not to judge because it was a work truck. And so I'm looking at it like, I don't care if this is the only vehicle that you own. It's a work truck. So if you said, you know what, I'm not going to go buy a fancy car. I'm going to put my money into my business, into the truck, into my tools. It wasn't a situation where I said, oh, you don't have a fancy car, I'm not judging. I was like, no, you got a work truck. It's raggedy, but what is it supposed to be? It's a work truck. So,
right. Okay. Yeah. But what I was trying to, okay. So what I want to say with this short list. Okay. So here's an individual that comes to you. Okay. So he had a work truck. That's not a problem. I've never personally, me as a woman, I've never cared about a guy that had to drive a Lamborghini. I've dated guys that had all those things, professional ballers and whatnot. I've dated doctors and lawyers, and I've dated the Indian chief guy. So it's not about like you. Like it sounds like you're a lot like me when you think of in terms of dating. But at some point, as we get more mature, what I'm feeling like, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. This short list. So was he holding down a job on a regular basis? And when I say holding down a job, like it sounds like he's kind of the word I'm looking for, transitory, kind of like a person that works a job here because he's in the trades, because he said he was a general contractor. So he picks up a job here, and when that job ends, now he's out of work. Is that kind of the gist of what his work life was like?
I would say yes. And so right when he got to Georgia, I kind of saw that like right away within the first like month or two. And I was like, oh, no, I said, we're not going to do that. So we're going to find something consistent. And he did find something consistent. So the problem when he and I were together was not the consistency and the work. It was the willingness to contribute and pay bills on time and without provocation or threat. And so that's why, again, at the reunion, the editing got funny, right?
Yes.
And I felt like they wanted to highlight the part where I said, oh, at no time during the season did I say that he didn't work, because I didn't. At no time did I say this man doesn't have a job, he doesn't work. What I said is that he doesn't contribute financially to the household as he should. And that was my complaint. And so when I was saying that, Egypt was like, no, I'm going to stop you, because you absolutely implied that he didn't have a job and that he wasn't worthy as a human, as a person. which was not what I said. What I said is he don't want to pay bills. There's a difference there, right? And so
There is.
that was my problem. My problem is that you moved into my home. You told me that you had furniture in Louisiana that you put into
Storage, maybe.
storage or whatever, right? My problem is that you moved into my home. You didn't have to buy any furniture. After 3 months, your work truck croaked. Now you're using one of my vehicles for work. That was my problem. Was like, it's falling on me. Even if you pay this bill next week, you need to borrow the same amount as what the bill was. My problem was that you're giving me your half of the rent money on the 15th of the month, and then if we get in any kind of argument the next week, you're going to try to find a way to steal your half of the rent money back, and then you're going to admit it, justify it, and don't care, and all of that immature mess. So all of things became a problem for me. And so that's why what I was saying on the show is that he's not stepping up, he's not taking leadership in that role, and he's not giving me a plan as to how he's going to in any future or near future. And so those are the things I was saying. I want to reiterate them now. I want to still stand on those things. I was not saying this man is a bum. He played video games all day. That was, and that's why I tried to clear that up at the reunion, because I don't want to be a liar, you know what I mean? And I also don't want to be a liar by omission, because I can see that the audience is under the impression that I'm saying that he sits at home all day. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he get his money and that's his money, and we don't know how much it is, and we don't know where it's being kept at. And when it comes time to handle these real responsibilities, I've got to cry, make threats, do all kinds of crazy stuff just to get you to do the basic things. And I'm exhausted with it. And it seems to me that you are comfortable with me as a single mom taking the leadership on that. And if I pay all these bills and just let you do you'd be okay with it. And you think that you're adding to my life because you are handsome, because you are in my bed at night. I tried to tell him many times, like, if you think that I'm a sugar mama or any of these things, like, this is not that. You are 4 years younger than me, boo. We're both grown people. We're both parents of children. You know what I mean? And I am not under low self-esteem. I do not have a problem dating or attracting the attention of men or whatever it is that you think that you are bringing. I'm not, in fact, lacking that. What I'm lacking is a true partner in life that does want to go half on finances, that does want to sit and talk about our future and how we're going to plan it out together, and does want to, be a real genuine partner. That's, what I was lacking.
Well, that's a thing. That's a real thing in our community, in African American community. I feel like that's a real thing. I feel that we have a culture of men, a generation of men, not all men, some men who really subscribe to this, I'm going to have as many women as I can. I'm going to have as many children out of wedlock as I can. And I'm going to loaf around. And, one of the things that we said here on this channel was, as we were reviewing your season, was that Kenneth, and this is me again, this is not Shorty saying this, guys, but this is me saying this on my channel, and I stand by it. I stand 10 toes deep in it, that Kenneth appears to be a hobosexual. Not homo, but hobo, Hobo sexual. And that's basically a guy who thinks that because of his looks, because of his sex in the bed, that he can, he's entitled to live off of a woman. That's how he came across. Now, I don't know if that's really who he is, but that's how he came across all season long.
I mean, he said it at the reunion. He basically said, like, oh, she'll call me for sex and then send me away and this and that. And it's like, really? Is that really what I'm doing? Is that really what you're allowing to happen as a grown man? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. Like, no part of it, because real grown men, and I'm just going to say it, real grown men don't have a problem with a woman wanting them for that, like, I'm just saying, like, it's not going to be a situation where they also need to live with you. Like, that's just not, a lot of men want you to come to their home as a man, not them coming to your home and then staying there, even if they're not wanted. under the guise that I'm adding to your sex life, and so I deserve to be here, or I deserve you. No.
Yeah. One last question. I'm sorry, Sonya. I'll let you
That's
continue.
okay. Go ahead, honey. Go
Just
ahead.
one last question while we're on in this vein. I don't want to move on until we tap into this. A question is asked that do you feel like that is a possibility that you moved this man into your home too soon? And what was your emotional state at the time when you moved this kind of a stranger, really?
Mhm.
Because I think, you know, we're talking to people on the internet, we're talking to people on our phones, and we're FaceTiming or whatever that thing is where we're talking, and we see the space that they're in, they see the space that we're in. But looking back at it now, would you do you think that you maybe moved a little bit too quickly with Kenneth? And also, what was your emotional state at that time when this was going on?
Yeah, 1000%. I think my biggest mistake was moving him in too soon. I think all of this could have been avoided by me not moving him in too soon. I mean, that's like single-handedly my biggest and worst mistake that I ever made. And I'm glad that you asked me that, and I'm glad that you asked me what my emotional state was. Before Kenneth, I had never lived with a man. And mind you, I'm 40 years old. So I've
Hmm.
never lived in the same household as a man. I've had past boyfriends ask me. I've even entertained the idea once and told one of them, he needed to buy me a ring. He bought me a ring, and I still
Hmm.
realized that it wasn't for me. I realized that even me saying the ring thing was just kind of a deferment, of me thinking,
Yes.
oh, he's not going to go get the ring. This will hold him off at bay, and it didn't. So then I had to get real with myself and say, okay, no, this isn't about a ring. This is about, like, I don't want to live with you. And if I don't want to live with you and I don't want a ring, then maybe, what am I doing? So I had never lived with anyone. And lots of people around me told me that that kind of was a mistake, as a grown woman, that in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to live with anybody until I get married. That was my ideology. That was my idea. And the older I got, people kept telling me, like, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. You need to live with somebody. You need to see what that day-to-day life looks like. You need to see, what they're on and all of that. And so I was in a mind frame of wanting to move in the direction of that grown woman step, right? Of living with someone. And that was a mind frame that I was having before I met Kenneth. I was telling myself, like, okay, the next boyfriend I have, we get serious, I'm gonna live with them. At that time, my son was like 17 years old. He was getting older, so I didn't have him as an excuse or a crutch. And I was like, this is a step that I want to take when I meet the right person.
Hmm.
So also, I was in a vulnerable place in the fact that I had just moved to Columbus. So I didn't know anyone there at all. So I already don't have family, in Georgia like that. But now I don't even have friends in Columbus. Don't know my coworkers. Everything is brand new to me. I've got a brand new schedule. I'm leaving work. I'm coming directly home, and I've got time. It's completely unlike Atlanta. Atlanta is like I didn't even have time for myself, nevertheless, a man or a relationship. But in Columbus, I'm off work at 3 p.m. and this is and this is not a bustling city that's got tons of stuff to do. It,
Right.
it doesn't. It doesn't. So
Small town. Small town.
things got lonely quickly. And I also had some other personal things that were going on in my life, some very personal traumas that I was carrying that had me in a vulnerable place. So I think the combination of all of these things, and then me meeting Kenneth and thinking, he's a great guy, and
Mhm.
all the things I told you guys in the beginning, I was like, man, I think this is it. Like, I think this is a match made in heaven. We're gonna flip houses together. We're gonna be a power couple. And he want to contribute to the household. I had never had that. I always held things down by myself. It wasn't a
Hmm.
problem. It wasn't like I was struggling by no means,
Mhm.
but I felt like this added income into the household definitely allowed me to invest more into, my business, the stock market, and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, why, would I have him move all the way from a different state for us to still live apart? That was my mindset. Of course, now in
Hmm.
hindsight, I realized what an enormous mistake that was.
Mhm.
And I realized how serious moving somebody into your home is. I think for me,
Yeah.
the seriousness more came now with
Hmm.
not living with somebody, but how difficult it is to get them out. when you want
Yes,
them out.
ma'am.
You know, in my
Yeah,
mind, I was like, oh, we'll move in together. If things don't work, we'll
he'll
go
move
our separate
out.
ways. It's no big deal. He said he wanted to be in Georgia anyway. So, I didn't feel like I was on the reunion. He said he was uprooting himself. I'm like,
Hmm.
no, because he had moved out of the home that we were video chatting on. He told me that he moved out of it and that he needed about 3 months to get his life together to move to Atlanta. So he was on his cousin's couch, his grandmother's couch, and so there wasn't,
Mm.
a whole lot of uprooting. Once he got here, I realized that you don't own a business. So you didn't
Right, because where
dismantle
are these?
that business to come here. You didn't own that home, so you didn't have to
Right.
sell it or anything. And then I found out that he wasn't as active with his daughter. So then the whole, I left my daughter. I'm like, well, if you left your daughter, then why aren't we getting her here more often? Because I'd love to have her here.
Hmm.
Why are we not hopping on these less than $100 flights to New Orleans to go see her every chance we get? Like
Right, because
it
he
didn't
really
make sense.
wasn't that active in her life, to be honest.
Right. So
Um,
then so there wasn't like the uprooting that he was saying. So yeah, but I would have known all of those things had I made the right decision of going to visit him in New Orleans.
yes,
I don't care if you
yes.
did move out of your house. Get us a hotel and show
Hmm.
me a good time in your city.
That's
You know what
right.
I mean?
In
And
the
show
city
me
with the best food in the America, okay?
Yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
yes,
best
The
food
best
bar
food.
none, okay? Ask
Yes.
me
yes,
how I know.
yes.
Continue, I'm
So
sorry.
yeah. No, so that's on me. Everything that I went through literally could have been avoided by me making a different decision, period. Or just
Mhm.
really, really being proactive about figuring out how to get him out early on and not having given that chance. Just standing on my ground of nope, you said you were this, you're showing me that you're not. So no, I'm not gonna give you the chance to build because there's a chance that it might not work and I'm this years old and I don't want to waste my time or
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
feelings for
That's
that
right.
matter. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think
Hmm.
that there were definite red flags that I definitely ignored.
Okay.
Hmm.
So this is not all on him. It's definitely I definitely
Have some
allowed it to
Hey,
happen.
accountability.
girl.
Yeah,
You
I
Yeah.
take
want to
you
say
take
that.
accountability too, it sounds
Yeah.
Yeah.
like.
My
Which is important.
accountability is more in the on the front end, I would say, because
Hmm.
I just like I said, I let him move in too fast. I did not take the steps to properly vet him and get to know him. I don't care if it was long distance. I still
Mhm.
didn't do, my due
Mhm.
diligence. And just moving him into my house with me and my child, even if my child is 17 years old, he's still a child. So I
Right.
think all of these things were definitely, my fault and with the not being 1000% proactive about dissolving the relationship early on once I saw that it wasn't what it needed to be. So that's my fault, and then everything that came from that I still take accountability for my bitterness, my bluntness, my rudeness. The way that I talk to him is
Mhm.
awful, right? But it's out of a frustration place of saying, well, you're not letting me out. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So now I'm at a point where you using me, you know what I mean? And you're bullying and asserting yourself on me
Yeah.
to use me.
Mhm.
So yeah, I am going to be direct because I see that you're inclined to ignore me as it is. So I've got to give you something that you can't ignore, that you can't um, reroute or change. I don't know.
Right. I
Can
love
I
that
can I
you
I can
go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead, Aubrey.
'Cause this has been on my mind for a while, and I
Mhm.
promise you, Sonya, is all yours after this. But this has been on my mind for a while, and I don't know. I want to be very careful in how I word this. I'm not at all being disrespectful or I don't want to come across as even being insensitive. But one of the things that occurred to me, oh, she's gone.
I'm sorry. No, I'm here. I'm here. I'm sorry.
I can't see you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. If go ahead, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You want me to continue speaking? Is it
Yes.
okay?
Yes. Yes.
One of the things that came to my mind, so as I'm hearing your story from the first couple of episodes, was that um, there was a possibility that even though you had brothers, they were younger brothers, and now I understand that your father is already, unfortunately, and my condolences, was already predeceased, right? So he's no
Hmm.
longer there as a male protector. Your brothers are younger. I'm wondering if you would speak to this. So my question is, coming from a different continent, a different country originally, and even though you grew up here, one of the things that I really see, even in my community, even if it's someone coming from another state and they were born in, say, Georgia, and they come up here to Michigan, their family, there's certain traditions and certain cultures that are true to that area that they originated from or their family originated from. Do you feel that in any way, coming out of the continent of Africa, that your cultural background from your family and everything that you understood um, kind of puts some differences in how you treat men and how you treat people? Like I feel from you that you are very nurturing, almost kind of like a mothering type, as I saw you and Sonya talking earlier, being that big sister to these brothers, to these boys, right? I'm wondering, just bear with me for a second, if you could speak to that, if that what I'm feeling, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but please speak to that, though, if you understand the question that I'm trying to ask you. I know it's crazy.
No, it's actually not crazy. It's actually important and really relevant, because I think that people's um backgrounds really speak to, who they are and their behavior and stuff. And it's not even just different countries. It's like even within the United States, the way that women treat or deal with their man in the southern states versus in some of the northern states can differ in the way, what their expectations are, or even marriage or all of that stuff. So I think that it's important. I don't know that my cultural upbringing necessarily impacted directly the way that I deal with men, more than just the lack of it. Like what I was saying earlier, there wasn't
Okay.
real dialogue that
Right.
happened in our household. My mom never told me, like, this is what you do for a man. I watched her, and she did a lot for my father. And if you ask me, as a young American girl growing up, I felt like she did too much. I felt like my mom worked really hard outside of the household, and then she carried 99% of the load inside the household herself too, me and her. And it was expected of me because I was a girl. My brothers didn't have to
Ah,
vacuum or do dishes, and it wasn't they're boys, so they don't have to do dishes. It was, they're not as good as you. They're not going to clean the dishes right. Do you really want to eat off dirty dishes that your brothers wash? Because they can't do it. And it
how we
wasn't in an
coddle our men in our community. We really
and it
do. I'm
was
sorry.
yeah, and it wasn't in an insulting way. It wasn't saying you're the girl, so we're gonna put more responsibility on you. It was like, you're smarter than they are, you're better at this than they are. You're older, you're a girl, you're more mature. So it was always in a complimentary way, but it was still kind of like, oh, guys can't really do much for themselves. And so for me, I think what it did was it caused the opposite. It was like, no, well, I'm not gonna have that. So when I get older and get in relationships, they're gonna have to be, more equally balanced. And I am gonna say how I feel in a relationship or in a marriage. I'm not gonna put my feelings or desires just on the back burner. So yeah, I think the lack of real conversation around, who I am or who do I want to be, or the different ways that you can carry a relationship. There was just kind of that lack of, but yeah, in my culture, women, they let their man take the lead, and they let them do their thing. But the men also understand that they really carry a huge responsibility, and that they have to protect, they have to provide, they've got to do these things, and they're non-negotiable. Like, everybody is more rooted in their positions already. Gender roles, regardless of what year it is, they haven't really changed back home. So that's the influence, I would say. It was more me wanting to steer away from that kind of traditional thing.
And I've heard you say that you have an avoidant person, that attachment style, and that you also have some codependencies. You feel like that also played a role in your decision to stay?
Yeah, it did. I think that I have bought into the belief system that the more you help a man, like if a man is down and you help him, that you're gonna be like rewarded for that. That he's gonna say, she held me down when I didn't have anything, so now I want to give her the world. And so
Yeah.
I kind of was like, I want that. So but now I'm realizing that no, that's actually codependency. People actually have to work to solve their own problems. You can assist them, but you can't take the lead role in
No.
guiding or doing things for others. They got to do it. And then even if you assist them, they actually have to ask for your assistance. You don't just volunteer it. You
Right.
know, they need to ask you, and then you need to assess whether or not that's appropriate and that you should, and in what way can you, and don't do it to the detriment of yourself. So I didn't even really
Absolutely.
know what codependency was. I've been learning
Mhm.
since this experience, which I think is good, because it's like sometimes you read these comments about yourself and sometimes they're nasty and
Mhm.
baseless, and you're like, okay, I'm ugly and weak, like what do I do with that? I don't know. But
Mhm.
sometimes there is constructive comments in there, you know, and that's how I learned code. I seen it 10 times. They were like, I think Shorty got codependency. And I was like, let me go look up this
Let me
codependency.
figure this
Yeah,
out.
because
What exactly
my
is this codependency
my
that they keep?
understanding was different.
Yeah.
I was attaching it to like substance abuse and other different things. I didn't
Mhm.
know how layered and deep codependency is. But once I started reading into it, I was like, this is me, and this is me, and this is me. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm learning. Yeah.
That's good. You're learning about yourself. Self-awareness is important. And it's so funny. There were some questions I had, but they kind of went. I was going to ask about accountability and everything, and you guys have gone into that. One question I have, because I want to be mindful of time as well. What is the biggest lesson besides codependency have you learned about yourself in after this
Boundaries.
process? Boundaries.
Boundaries, just having them,
Mhm.
standing on them,
Mhm.
regardless of what people say. Because even now, some of the comments allowed my brain to kind of be messed with, you know, the whole,
Mhm.
well, you stayed, you know, you stayed. And so that
Mhm.
kind of for me was like, oh, dang, maybe I stayed, so maybe I deserved it. And I'm
No,
realizing, no,
No.
you
no.
actually, just because you choose somebody doesn't mean that that's a life sentence. You are allowed to have boundaries, you are
Yes.
allowed to stand on them. And
Mhm.
honestly, the people who want to push those boundaries are going to be the people who you need to put them down with the most. So I think what I learned is maintaining, implementing my boundaries,
Mhm.
and just also like not ignoring red flags, not
Yeah.
ignoring red flags, you know.
And
Yeah.
could you just if it's okay, could you enumerate or give us a few of those red flags?
Yeah, again, it goes to kind of standing on it. So it's like I
Mhm.
think that there's different ideologies that work for different ages in your life, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
You are
Mhm.
allowed to think and do certain things in your 20s. You are allowed to think and do certain things in your 30s, 40s, and such, right? Now,
Mhm.
of
Hmm.
course, we're humans, so we're going to blur that all the time, right?
Mhm.
But
Hmm.
just because I was naive enough to think that somebody who misrepresented themselves is somebody I could build with in my
Mhm.
20s, right? That might
Mhm.
be okay. It might be
Right.
okay to
Right.
build with somebody in your 20s, right?
Right.
Right.
But if you're in your mid 30s or you're 40, you don't. This isn't the building stage. This is the stage where you need to be who you are, and you need to be trying to be equally yoked, you know, with who you are, being
Yes.
with, and you know, all of those things.
Yes.
So I think that that's going to be important for me. It's like understanding that and really, you know, continuing to implement it. Like all the time. It's like, I'm 40. So if I meet a guy and he says he's one thing and then he's not, boom, it is okay to cut him off and keep it moving forward. I do
Keep it
not
moving.
owe
Yep.
him, I do not owe
Anything.
him anything. So I
No.
think that for me, that's like the biggest thing I want to continue, you know, moving forward is like, no, don't be swayed by what other people are saying or
Mm-mm.
think, you know, do
Mhm.
what is right for me. And my gut is going to tell me that if I don't ignore it. So
Mhm.
Very
That is
good.
so true. Very good. Good for you, Shorty. Good for you.
thank
Because
you.
it takes a lot. It takes a lot to acknowledge that. It takes a lot to acknowledge where you may have gone wrong, or things that you have overlooked. But it seems like you are working on forgiving yourself, growing from that, and being better for the next, and being more prepared for your next relationship. And that's a good
Yes.
thing, right?
Thank you.
You're
Hmm.
welcome. You're welcome. So, what can we?
Let's ask her. Yeah, I was gonna go ahead if you're gonna ask her about her. professional. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. What is next for Miss Shorty? What can we look forward to in the future
Yes.
from you?
Yeah. Cool. So I am working on some radio stuff. Nothing that I can just put out there quite yet, but just be on the lookout for me.
Okay.
And then also, I do financial literacy stuff, and I also
Oh,
work in real estate. I have a couple of Airbnbs. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm working on some ebooks. And in the meantime, I just want to offer like, consulting and support to women or anybody really. It's not just for women, but anybody who wants to learn more about the Airbnb business. If you want to learn about, understanding your personal credit, if you want to understand just the basics on how to start a business, even like if you're a first time home buyer and you want some tips on what you should know or what you should look out for. Right now, I'm willing to just kind of like talk to people for free. If you just slide in my DM, if you've got these things going on, hey, Shorty, I'm thinking about buying a house. I don't know if it's right for me. What are some things I should consider? I'll give you some things that you should consider before moving forward if it's the right step for you. I just want to bring awareness to financial literacy matters like within our community.
Right.
I want to
yes.
empower people. I think that knowledge is the first step to empowering people. And I know on the show I came off as like crass and all I care about is money and all these things. But it's not in the way that people would think. It's not in a I'm better than people way at all. Like I want everybody to get out here and get it. There are ways to there's ways to make your money work for you. Like just going to your job every day and doing a regular is not gonna set you and
Right.
your kids up
Right.
for the future. So that's what I have going on. Like I said, I'm going to be writing some ebooks, so be on the lookout. And in the meantime, feel free to jump in my DM. And if I get enough people that say that they want information about one thing, like I'm thinking I'm going to start creating like content, like videos and stuff. 5 first steps to owning your first home, or whatever. But I just want to know where the need is. What do people want to know about? So
Yeah, that brings me to a question
Awesome.
I had because I saw you. Yeah, awesome, very very wonderful. But that brings me to a question. I saw someone now, and I'm saying someone because when people go to start be on YouTube or just check it out or whatever, I saw someone had subscribed to my channel the other day, and the name and the picture said Shorty Matt. Was that you?
mhm, it was me.
Awesome. Okay, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Hold on. A little pause
Congratulations.
there. But no, but the funny thing was about it was I immediately thought, yes, Shorty Mac is in this space with me and other content creators. This is a great space for her. She's so articulate, bright, charming,
Thank you.
beautiful. This is the perfect space. So we're gonna have to chit chat about that a little bit later when we're off the air, okay?
Definitely, definitely.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, is there any other things that you want to share with our viewers that may be an upcoming event that I noticed you said you have some work that you do with children and young people. Is there any events in the Atlanta area or nationwide that you want to share with us?
Not right now. I have some like traveling engagements that are going to keep me busy for the next few months. So I don't have
Okay.
any like actual events. When the season was on, I was doing viewing parties like in different cities, and I would have like viewers come out and watch the show with me and stuff like that. But as of right now, I'm just going to really focus on creating content and writing these books. So that's going to kind of keep me
Yes, it will.
busy.
Yes, it
Awesome.
will.
Uh, Also, before we head on out of here, I'd like for Sonya to please tell our viewers where you're available on social media platforms everywhere.
Yes. Once again, Aubrey, thank you for having me. Shorty, thank you for coming and answering our questions and being a wonderful guest. We appreciate you. I am at Let the Lady Speak here on YouTube, and I am also Let the Lady Speak on Instagram. And my coaching is www.signinggary.com, and I offer self-love coaching there. So if you are interested, please contact me there. Oh,
Oh,
and then I have a self-love Sundays coming up, guys. Join me this Sunday. It's going to be at 4:30. I'll put the flyer out where we're going to start doing a holistic approach to self-love.
Mm. And I plan to. I don't have a schedule yet, guys, but I plan to bring Sonya back so that we can, in the month of July, one of the things I want to focus on is to talk about how can we have safer love? How can we have safer relationships? How do we know we're safe with men as women? How do we know that? Um,
Mhm.
I want to thank all our moderators in the chat for keeping this a safe and comfortable space for Shorty. Thank you once again, Shorty, for coming out. We really appreciate you giving us
Thank you.
your time and just your generosity. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ellen V, Monique King, always. Alex W. Leith, thank you also. Jeremy Speaks TV, one of my co-hosts here, and we'll be back together, guys, on Sunday at 7:30. We'll be doing a recap review of Love and Marriage DC, and more videos to come. Shorty, I hope that you have enjoyed yourself, and I hope that you will be more than willing to come back anytime you feel like
Definitely.
it to share your projects, tell us update us on what's going on in your life. And you know what we like to do, which is actually fun, is to bring you back maybe when they do the next season of Put a Ring on It, so you can key with us about about the new people, right?
Yes, invite me on when you do the reviews next season for sure. Yes, I'm with that. I'm with that.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'm gonna drop you down into the green room, and
Okay.
Sonya and I are gonna wrap this up, dear. Thank you
All
so
right.
much again.
Thank
Bye now.
you. Okay, bye-bye.
So beautiful. Okay. Woo, that was good.
Yes, it was. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. You were a wonderful co-host and a special guest. I really appreciate it. And again, like I said, I want to be sure to bring you back. So we will coordinate our schedules. The month of July, guys, I will be celebrating being monetized here on this YouTube platform. Also have memberships for those that like to join. I thought I saw another super chat, but maybe I'm Roro. Did I see a super chat from you? I don't want to miss anybody. Thank you, Alex W. Leith, for your super chat early on in the podcast today. Guys, I don't want to leave anybody out, so I'm kind of scanning. Give me just a second. I'm so sorry, but this is not okay. We love you, Shorty. Keep loving yourself first. Awesome. That was a super chat, but I don't know. I guess if I saw it, maybe I'm seeing things. Maybe I'm seeing double because I don't have much. I didn't get much sleep. But Sonya, I'm gonna hit our. Let's see. Let me find this theme song on the way out. You want to say goodbye to our viewers? Your mic is muted.
Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. We're on our way out.